Yeah, I want to talk about basketball a little bit off of that, specifically the Detroit Pistons. Kind of what do we want? What do we want to see from them in the next couple years while they're rebuilding and trying to get back on the tracks? Because right now, I think they're playing very well for a very bad team, and I kind of like that. I want to keep seeing that, and I know Isaiah, you talked about it in the group chat. They're doing exactly what you kind of want them to do. You want their young players to get time. You want to see development. You want to see mentorship from maybe some of the vets. You don't want to see the front office give away, Derrick Rose for a second round pick and a guy that's played like 13 minutes on the year. But I feel like there's at least direction now with this. So I hope that's going to continue.
So I see the direction. My issue is like I need to see some kind of front office savviness when it comes to trades and or drafting. I need to see a little bit more there. I like the way they're playing. I mean, they're terrible. So they're a really bad basketball team. There's no getting around that, but that's expected. What I do like is the way they're competing with teams. They're competing with all the teams that they should compete with as far as like the other teams that are bad. And they beaten a few teams they shouldn't have beaten. So that's good to see. And you don't want to necessarily see that like we kind of talked about before. You don't want to see them play above their head for like a full season and then actually, maybe not be as good as they're playing and then fall down to the draft order and then like maybe be a borderline playoff team at the end of the year. And it's like, wow, that's kind of pointless. You know what I mean? You don't want to see that necessarily, but you do want to see them competing with good teams because that shows something.
They're closer. Yeah. That shows they're closer. Yeah.
That shows something. I don't necessarily want them to win all these games. I don't. I'd like to see, them get a good draft pick here.
Hard to do that with the lottery.
Yeah. It improves your chance, Joel.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
We're gonna have to make that a topic of discussion after
we all have very hard feelings about it for sure.
Yes,
but I think I agree with Joel. There's a direction necessarily. It's not necessarily just seems like they're gonna go waste.
Not gonna go 500 every year and get
waste giant contracts on guys like Blake Griffin and it's just pointless. So I think there is a sense of direction now, and somewhere that they can shoot for. The question is going to be, it's really hard. I think the NBA might be, it's really hard to get out of the cellar right now in the NBA. I think, unless you just get, some kind of crazy transcendental player in the draft, and I don't know how often that's going to appear in the draft, and the Pistons have got the draft really well. And I know this past year's draft wasn't. I mean, it remains to be seen how good it was. But where they were drafting didn't leave them a whole lot of options to do something like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But I think it's gonna be building through the draft, and I just want to see a little bit more savviness when it comes to the draft and the trade was stupid. Literally ridiculous.
So currently the Pistons are mulling trade options and possibly buying out Blake Griffin's contract. You gave the guy so much money, you have to get something for him. Even if it's a bad trade, like that, because that's the thing. Like with Derrick Rose, terrible trade him for a bag of balls for the gym.
Yep.
But if they would have just released him, or if they would have just bought his contract out, that would have been a million times worse.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Blake Griffin, he's been injured, so you're not going to get a good return for him. I think that's one thing people fans just need to get ready for. It's just it's not going to look good on paper. But you got to trade him. You have to before the end of the season. You just absolutely have to, because
there's no.
So if you look at the box score from their last game against the Magic, this is the perfect rebuilding team, young players box score you could ever see. So they lost by only 9 points. They were pretty much in the game for most of it. There was a shot they could have won. So you get guys that want to win. And then obviously with Jeremy Grant, you have to give the hot hand the most minutes just because he's your best player. But Saddiq Bey gets 30 minutes. Sekou Doumbouya, I wish he would get more, but he wasn't playing good, so he got 16. Isaiah Stewart got 20. Saben Lee filling in for DeLon Wright got 33. Like that's what you need. You like.
I like to see Saben Lee, a second-round pick, already getting some action.
Yeah, get 33 second most minutes on the team.
Yeah, he's showing promise though, and that's
he only shot the ball 7 times, which is kind of sad. But 12 points on 4 of 7 shooting, like just getting those guys time on the court. You're going to have these performances from Saddiq Bey, where he goes 3 for 10, all shots from the 3-point line because he wants to. He had that one game where he made them all, and he thinks he can do that every night, which is ridiculous. But you get your young guys minutes. You're in a decently competitive game, but you ultimately lose. Like honestly, that's like I want to be entertained if I'm going to watch, and I want to see a close box score, but I want an L in the column because even though it's a like the top 3 teams have the same odds of getting the number 1 pick, and it's a lottery system and all that. You still want to
best odds. I mean,
you still need to be one of those top 3 teams. You still need to be in there because you just have to.
I remember how excited though we were with Killian Hayes though. He's kind of been disappointing, dude. I mean, are we already writing him off too early? We got to give him a little bit more time, because he has been good. But
yeah, it would be worse if these other guys weren't getting solid minutes.
I was gonna say Isaiah Stewart. I didn't expect this season even from Isaiah Stewart. So
I need Sekou Demboya to pick it up though.
I think Killian Hayes was going to be a project long term anyway. I think the talent is certainly there. You see it every flashes, but I just think he didn't play in the States in college. He was just going to be more of a project. He just doesn't have. He's got a smoothness to his game, and I think he just needs to kind of understand how the NBA game works compared to what he's used to. And I think it's going to take him a year, 2, maybe even 3. But I think the talent is there. I don't, however, I don't think he's your lead guard of the future. I think he's a depth piece and could be a real solid depth piece eventually. But I don't think. It's hit or miss once you get past the top 5, typically in the NBA draft, in my opinion, unless it's just like a crazy deep draft. Sometimes even top 3 once you get past that. So even though I know he was technically in the lottery, like I don't necessarily think it's a bust if he's just a rotational piece. I don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with any of these recent first-round picks for the Pistons. None of them are going to lead you to postseason success. They're just not that caliber of player. No. Killian Hayes just obviously needs to get healthy. Luckily, his torn ligament in his hip isn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. But yeah, like you were saying, he's kind of a project. Like I think next year is the year to cast our decisions on Killian Hayes. Kind of similar to Michael Porter Jr. at Denver. Like you couldn't go off the first 2 years of his career because
he's injured, and then
he missed a year, and then he just kind of was load managed at only 20 years old, and now he's a stud.
Yep.
So I would say the same for Killian Hayes. Like you just can't do anything about this year, and. Yeah, I mean, you just hope that these players get good. And then I think another thing that you want to see from the Pistons is trade Jeremy Grant. Like, not him himself, but, like, when you have a guy on this bad team that just starts playing really well, trade him. Like, do not say, oh, he can help us win some games. He can help us put butts in seats, even though that doesn't happen right now.
It can't even happen this year. It's the perfect time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. But I just, like, every team wants to have a guy that's, like, somewhat exciting to watch, but like I don't care. Like I don't care if fans get mad that it's a bad product. I don't care if they get blown up by 100 points. Like obviously, I'd like it to be close games so the young guys have some confidence. But you have a crazy season from Jeremy Grant where he's averaging 25 plus. Trade him. Just get what you can.
Well, yeah, like, and there's going to be a team that's going to want a guy like Jeremy Grant who's hot, who can score. There's a market for him, in my opinion.
But I think you want to hold on to him as long as possible until the deadline, just because, like you said, you want to keep building that confidence. As long as he's out there, the games are close, and that keeps the morale high for some of the younger guys when they're getting their minutes.
Yeah. But like a Boston team, like if I don't know. Like I don't know if they would mind getting another forward in that rotation that's putting up productive minutes so that they can get over that 500 hump